Change places.
It's a little more conservative dresser than the previous incumbent.
You're not auditioning for any roles, or you're not changing your look on a weekly basis?
Isn't that beautiful?
It's a great place. I've been there. We did it before.
Yeah. Did you go to the Lake Country at all? Like,
No, that Venice. No, we stayed.
Yeah, I'll
stay
say.
for the-
We've been in the Lake Country, that's separate.
So beautiful.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Well, there it is.
Are we ready? Or he's gonna tell me. Pat's back.
At 7 o'clock.
Booyah.
All set? Okay, call the regular meeting of the CCWD Board of Directors to order for our meeting on Tuesday, November 14th, 2017 at 7 PM. Can we have a roll, please?
Of course. Director Coverdell?
Here.
Director Glassberg?
Here.
Director Michelson?
Yes.
Vice President Feldman?
Here, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to
The
the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, any public comment, green cheese? Seeing none, we'll go to item 4, consent calendar. Any comments or questions or items on the consent calendar anybody wants to?
I don't need to pull anything, but I would like to ask a question after it's been approved, if we can do that.
Yeah? Yeah.
And now I'll move to approve it.
President Reynolds had reviewed the claims and approved them. He
Oh,
said-
yeah, sorry. Okay. Have a second on the consent calendar?
Second.
Okay, have a vote.
Yes. Director Coverdell?
Aye.
Director Glassberg?
Aye.
Director Michelson?
Yes.
Vice President Feldman?
Yes, okay, and you had a
Yeah,
comment?
I had a question. Each month we get this water service connection transfer report, and I don't know the history behind it, so there may be a lot more to it than I understand, but it's a lot of paperwork that goes with it, with each one, and I'm just wondering if we need all of the paperwork with every one that goes. I mean, do we need to have Patrick's letter with every single one? We know we're not going to do it without him approving it. Do we need to have the descriptions of all of these with every single one? Or can we just have one page that says these are the transfers for the month? Is there more there that I don't understand?
You mean to reduce the volume of the
The paper.
paper?
Yeah, do we
We
need all those
take a
pages?
look at that. We have an approval process, but I'm not sure that, and we're not asking the board to approve, we're just reporting. Because our policy allows approval at the staff level for transfers that meet certain criteria. So that's a good question. And we have been, especially with James on board, looking at, some of this paper that has built up in the board packet over time. So that's a great question, and so we'll take a look at that. I think the answer is yes, we probably could just summarize.
Well, let me chime in here as one of the historians on this board.
Right now.
We fought long and hard to keep that alive and to allow people who had rightfully bought a connection that helped finance Crystal Springs upgrade to transfer those. I mean, they were sold. I mean, and we sell you a car. I don't tell you if you can or can't sell that car once I've sold it to you. However, there was a period when we had 3 board members here who wanted to shut down that transfer program because they saw it as a means to control growth. But it would have been, ask Patrick. I mean, if we had shut that down, it would have been a lot. I mean, there would have been, at the time, probably 1,500 people suing us. I mean, how could you sell us a water connection? Now it's worthless. We can't transfer it. But they were willing to go down that road against our prior attorney's advice. I mean, he told me this personally, offline, that's where they wanted to go. So we fought long and hard. So I kind of like like seeing it, and it's a somewhat of a legacy thing. I don't need the down and dirty detail. But there's definitely some history associated with that, and it really could have put this district in real, in financial peril. Had they gone through with that, they would have been, clearly we would have been sued, and it wouldn't have been pretty. And there was just the potential for litigation. I mean, I do not like seeing it, and since then, the potential for a litigation, closed session has virtually evaporated. But there was a time where we were under constant threat.
And I have no problem with the concept behind it of being able to transfer. My issue was just, can we get a one-page report?
And probably
that says
Coastal
this
Commission
is the
reporting, we have to, at the end of the year, we have to report all of this, all these transactions to the Coastal Commission.
Yes.
The-
Not the details of our process, but just how many we've transferred.
From a legal perspective, excuse me, normally is a letter that goes to Gina from you, or legally, which review the name transfer, and then a letter from, to the property owner, from Gina, with the associated approval or agreement. So those seem to have to happen anyway. And my view is there's normally maybe one or two, if we're lucky some months. I mean, at the end of the year, you might get 24 if you're lucky, in terms of, or do we get more than that?
That's about, I think that's a
That's about the average.
That's a pretty
18
average number, yeah.
To 22. And this looks like more of a documentation, a documentation process, so that we have records of what we've done, and we know who gave them to, and we send them a note. And so I don't think we would save much by, how would we couple them together into a summary, is what I'm asking. Still have to write the letter to the,
Well, I'm not suggesting that the staff change their procedure.
oh, I see.
No, I'm just actually
Oh, not seeing-
questioning
not
what
seeing
we
the-
received. Just,
Oh,
do we
not-
need to see any more than just a page that says, this person transferred to that
Oh, I
person, and you're
understand.
talking about a half a
I'm
page?
okay, yeah.
That's all.
Versus having this in the packet.
Right, and
Okay.
actually, this was like this, usually there's a lot more papers for each one of them that transfers. So, but I'm not questioning what
understand,
the staff
understand.
is doing.
Well,
It might be
come back.
more useful to, for instance, have a summary table like our meters installation
Yeah, right.
report that allows you to kind of see over time how many transfers we've done.
That's true.
I don't think there's any reason the board needs all of the,
Okay.
Yeah, I certainly like seeing the number.
yeah,
Right, you need the
right.
numbers.
So we'll work on it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comments on the consent calendar? Okay, we'll go to item, meetings attended, director comments. Anybody have any reporting?
No, it was an off month last month for Bosco. I'm going this Thursday.
Okay,
So by the time I see you again, it'll be somewhat stale, but and it's mostly closed session. We're still Start of litigation.
okay. Nothing? Any meetings? Okay, I had nothing to report. General business, general manager, item A, conversion of full-time temporary field position to permanent treatment distribution operator position. Who's going to talk? about it?
Okay, I'll talk about that.
Okay.
As long as just about anybody around here can remember, we've had a full-time temporary position on the field staff. And it was for a while at $15 an hour, now it's $20 an hour. The position is staffed by people who can only stay 1,000 hours based on PERS and other labor rules. So basically, as soon as somebody acquires the skills necessary to be useful, they have to leave, and we get a new person. The upside has been, it's been provided us with an opportunity to audition some employees that have come on permanently, and that's been a good thing. And we've had quite a few forgettable employees as well in that position. But we've been sort of motivated to upgrade this position by our current need for resources as we are installing the AMI. And as I've told everyone, I've always been uncomfortable with a sort of backdoor full-time equivalent. And so what we're proposing to do is to eliminate the temporary position that we've carried for so long, make it a permanent treatment distribution operator position. And that would, of course, increase the cost by the cost of benefits, but it would not really be increasing the number of people. We would just be increasing the skill level. And based on the amount of work we do to bring these people in and train them and all that kind of thing, I think it would be, we know it'll be beneficial. I think that the added cost is definitely worth it for us. So that's the recommendation, that we make this a permanent position.
Comments?
No, I think it's great, and to me, the reason we're moving this employee into full-time is, we lost an employee to an accident, but I think this shows what a lean operation we run here. We're one man down, we notice it. So it was nice to, have someone to fill this position and, hit the ground running.
I'm very supportive of this. I think that calling the other position temporary was semantics game. And so for me, making this a permanent position is legitimizing it. It is a permanent position, really. I mean, by intent, I shouldn't say intent because that sounds deceitful. I don't mean it that way. But by its existence, the way we were using it, it really was the equivalent of a permanent position other than the benefits. So I think that it should be permanent, and I'm pleased that we're making that move.
I think the general manager does a great job of managing staff. If the general manager feels that's the appropriate thing to do, I see the logic of it, and I think it's great. I think the more educated and experienced our field staff becomes, the better our activities are in the field. So I think it's great.
Over the 20 years, which is past my time, or precedes me, has this been filled pretty much full-time? for
Oh,
the 20?
always.
It's
Sure.
always been filled?
Always. Yeah, they really depend on this. We
For the
really
20
use this
years.
position. And when I've made noise at various times about eliminating it, I've gotten strong pushback.
Okay, so essentially, it's been 2 people a year
Right,
for 20 years, 40
Right.
people, different people maybe.
right.
No, I'm just asking.
Like, as I said, a revolving door
Over
series
that
of
20
employees.
years, we've saved $1.2 million. Wow. By not making it permanent. Wow. 60,000 a year. I'm just talking out loud. That's the heartburn, that I have, if any. I always have a little, is the extra cost, which is more than the salary of the individual. That to me, that's sort of made my mind boggle. I mean, in a sense, it's been a little bit disruptive and erratic and
No,
stuff.
I
But it saved
hear you.
us a lot of money. And we had a chance to pick and parse and choose and find and do better things and maybe not get somebody so good. I'm sorry,
I agree on the money side, but the other side,
I'm
I'm surprised
just-
that auditor
that's just a big-
hasn't questioned. I'm surprised our auditors haven't questioned this a long time ago, because it's not a temporary position. How do you call it temporary when it's been filled for 20
Well,
years?
legally speaking, it's just, but we follow the rules of the road. We have them for 1,000 hours and they're gone. It's the way they do contractors too. Same thing. No, I'm not, I'm just,
No, I understand.
I'm reacting to the plus 60K, which boggles the mind that the benefits are far more than the actual rate that we're
That's
paying.
amazing,
Yeah,
yeah.
it is, no, that's the way it is, huh? That's what they get, about 40K and this 60. So, what will that give us in terms of total headcount?
Same as
For
it-
that
same as it is
function?
now.
Yeah, which is, I forget, 18?
It's 10 in the field?
10 of your guys?
Yeah, 10,
It's the same number we have, you're saying, it's changing.
20
the-
total at the district, 10 in the field.
It's
So it
just,
doesn't-
it's just changing the mix into a permanent
Right.
version.
So, I mean, I think, to respond to your comment about the 1.2 million. I think it's a question of what the appropriate staffing level is.
I'm just,
We could save a lot of money by eliminating people, but then we don't have enough to do our job, so.
okay, look, I know the personnel committee met, I think, on this in HR, right, and you guys
We did.
agreed with it,
talked
et cetera.
about
I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm just
That's
reacting
a
to the,
legitimate point.
And to piggyback on
I
on
don't
Ken's
mean-
comment, this really is the duty of the general manager.
no, I agree.
Um,
I'm just asking.
We're more, but
No,
I
no,
guess
but you
we're,
know how to make the
we're
recommendation.
policy guys, I
Yeah,
guess. So this, I can see this does come back to us in the
In
policy
terms of
sense,
the
yeah.
review
Just
process.
to approve the position, I think.
Okay, so why don't we take a vote?
Do we need to vote on it?
No, we have to have a
Yes.
motion.
We need a motion.
So-
We need a
let's-
motion?
So let's back up for 1 minute. So, it could be our policy that we believe we should always attempt to be competent and field-worthy, but frugal, right? And $1.2 million is $1.2 million, right? So, if you feel strongly about that, I think it's, a reasonable case, especially based on, lots of discussion with regard to raising rates and, how much it
Well,
costs to operate the
again,
district.
60K adds to the, have we suffered unduly over the years because we have carried it like this? That's my question. Has it cost us or made us less efficient or less productive or less professional in the way we deliver service? That's my question.
Yes.
Has it in fact been negative?
Yes.
Please tell me.
Yeah, it has, because we have a series of people with no experience coming in that the field staff needs to depend on. And we have many instances in which people that were really good had to leave after their 1,000 hours. And then we get somebody new who may, if we're fortunate, and usually we have been, if we're fortunate, they're the kind of person who's motivated to come to work. But there's no guarantee of that. So I think to answer that question, I think we have burned a lot of energy and time over the years and had to compensate for mistakes that these folks make. And they haven't been as useful as a permanent person would be. A permanent person will be, we know that the permanent person will be certified at the D2 and T2 levels, will ultimately go into the standby rotation. The other thing that we thought about that I think is important to mention is we have a number of people on our staff that are getting close to retirement, and we have no pipeline. We have no pipeline of, and not, I'm not talking about Sean Donovan, but John,
100 miles apart.
Yeah, John Davis is close, John Bruce is close. So, those are significantly skilled people that we're going to need to replace within just a very few years. And so, that's another concern of ours, that we have, a pipeline. And a temporary employee does absolutely nothing for us in that regard. In fact, a temporary employee, when I'd say he or she, but it's never been a she, when they first arrive, is a resource drain for some time. And if we're lucky, they don't make any mistakes. They're not that useful. They ride around with somebody so the answer to that question, have we been less than effective than we would be with a permanent position, is absolutely yes. Yeah.
So it sounds as if this resource has been needed for the full period that they perform work essentially on a full-time basis, even though it's been in pieces, and that you feel having a permanent position would be more effective, more efficient, and add to the general long-term viability of the staff and the future staff needs. Historically, my own experience has been that temporary positions are not necessarily the best way to run a business. I'm not arguing with you about that. And that you'd rather have a full-time staff person there to be able to capitalize on their training and their education over time to better service the needs of the business. So I was asking simply because this thing jumped out at me, but I don't necessarily disagree with the proposal. So with that, I'll call it to a vote.
So I move
Need a motion.
we approve the conversion of the full-time temporary field position to a permanent treatment distribution operator position.
Second?
All right, Dr. Coverdell?
Aye.
Dr. Glassberg?
Aye.
Dr. Michelson?
Aye.
Vice President Feldman?
Yes?
Thank you.
Alrighty, next item on the agenda is approval of agreement for acquisition of permanent easements and joint escrow instructions between Coastside County Water District and the James Denalis Cozzolino 1988 Family Trust.
Okay. At the October meeting, the board designated me and Assistant General Manager Mary Rogren negotiators for the purpose of negotiating a permanent easement with the Cozzolinos over their property. Going back a few months, recall that we had a real problem with the section of pipeline in front of Lenebia. We fixed that with a bypass around Lenebia through the Cozzolino property, and we did that. That pipeline was about 1,000 feet long. We did that under a right of entry agreement with the Cozzolinos. They have since indicated their interest and willingness to provide us with a permanent easement for a longer pipeline, which would give us a total of about 3,250 feet of pipeline installed in their property, and there's a figure in the easement agreement that shows the alignment of the pipeline we've completed and the one we propose to install in their property. This is a very advantageous thing for the district because it's much less expensive to install a pipeline through ag land than it is to install it in one lane of Highway 92 working at night and disrupting the lives of lots of people on the coastside who would be sitting in traffic waiting for our one-way control to clear. So this is these are the advantages to the district of this easement. The agreed-on price for the 3,250 feet of permanent easement based on $50,000 an acre, and an easement that's 20 feet wide is $75,000. And we recommend that the board approve going forward with this property transaction. I can answer any questions that you have about it.
Any comments, questions?
I move we approve the agreement as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, no further comments? Why don't you call the roll, please?
Sure, Dr. Coverdell?
Aye.
Dr. Glassberg?
Aye.
Dr. Michelson?
Aye.
Vice President Feldman?
Yes.
It's a great agreement for the district. Fantastic.
Alrighty, item C, agreement for emergency water supply between Coastside County Water District and Montero Water and Sanitary District.
I requested that this item be put on the agenda, and in the last few days, I've become aware of the fact that this particular juncture or this particular potential agreement could potentially involve a customer of mine. I'm the landscape architect of record for the Big Wave project, the first phase, the brewery. And so I'm going to have to recuse myself from discussing this item because I think there's a conflict of interest there. And I also would respectfully request that I be replaced on the mutual assistance committee between Montero Water and Sanitary and the Coastside County Water District, and I'll leave the room now.
Thanks for bringing that to our attention.
Right, so just to clarify for the record, legal counsel has been involved in this as well, understanding the financial interest that Director Coverdell has, and the rules under the Political Reform Act require that Director Coverdell disclose his financial interest, which he just did. state that he's recusing himself, which he just did, and then to leave the room during any portion of the discussion of this item. And as he mentioned, the agreement itself with the emergency water supply agreement with Monterra and the work of that committee, the Mutual Interest Committee, and the talk of the intertie now may involve things related to the big wave development. And because of his contract engagement with big wave development, that creates the financial interest, which creates the conflict of interest. And so Director Coverdale just did what's required by law. And so I just wanted to clarify that for the record.
Okay. Being a member of the committee, I think it was the intent here to try to resurrect some dialogue between Monterra and we going forward in some fashion for mutual cooperation. And given that we have only one member now, it would be good to perhaps consider a future discussion of another appointee on the committee. And since we're getting close to the end of the year, and we'll probably be asking the new president to set up his committee selections next year, we might want to wait until that point to talk about membership on the committee. I think that happens in January.
Usually we install the new president at the December meeting and
Right.
discuss committees at the January
Okay.
meeting.
So what I would propose is that we hold off on this, table it, until such time as we have a second member of the committee appointed, and then we can discuss how we want to proceed forward with our mutual interest committee activities.
Works for me.
You know, my mom has a great saying, and I tell you, I use it all the time. Takes two to tango. And you know, we don't have a dance partner in this.
Right?
2010, this is going nowhere.
Okay, well, that was my proposal. is that
I agree.
we go forward to January, pick another member and see what we can, see if we can start dancing. I don't know what you're going to say.
And
We'll
just-
do a tango. What? No, I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, one of the things that
Sure.
the board does is, in January, they take a fresh look at all of the board
Right, all the committees and
determine
decide whether it's an appropriate committee to continue.
And if
So that's all
Yeah,
goes
there you
without
go.
saying.
Yeah,
Right.
We have another level
You need
of
at least two to
discussion.
tango, but then maybe you don't want to tango.
yeah.
Okay, so we're ready to go to item.
We could let Director Coverdale to
Okay, tell him.
return
Kenny can
at some point.
unrecuse himself. Is that a word? No.
That requires a doctor.
Monthly informational reports. I'll wait for Ken to return.
Oh, I thought we were gonna be out of here in 7:45.
Record, I was looking at it thinking, we might have.
At least it's not too thick, it's not too thick.
It's all pictures.
Yeah.
I was starting to feel threatened that my record was.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, advanced metering, my pet project.
Yes. So I just wanted to give you a quick update and to show you some pictures. We started our implementation on November 1st. The first week was spent spent staging. We're now up and going, installing in Ocean Colony. We have, you can move on, these are pictures of a couple of the installers. They all have vans, and that's their uniform, this bright shirt. And Kathleen and I went out and met with some of the installers, and, you know, they appear to be very professional. Director Feldman has,
That's significant dialogue with
he's helping us.
the professional installers. Oh, yeah.
Were you holding them up, Bob?
No, I tried not to. They were in a rest period when I was there, waiting for something. Usually waiting for something to be attended to.
Yeah,
Huh?
but we've been coordinating with them on
Yeah.
that point. But, you know, right now, well, as of today, PMI has probably installed 300 to 350 meters. And they're, without any, major event or anything. We've been concerned that, are they going to break something?
Yeah.
And so far, so good, knock on wood. So we're excited. And the other point that we're very excited about is that we've had a successful integration of their workflow tool. They have this great website where the team on the field uploads the data of, like serial numbers and reads. They have an audit process, and they're also integrating with Aclara's network in our utility billing system. And all has been going very smoothly without any glitches, so we're pretty excited.
So do these new meters start at 0?
They start at 0.
Yeah.
We can go on the portal and
Yes.
tell if you're taking a shower.
So, yeah, so we're excited. And this slide just shows that the web portal, and we get a status every day of how many meters were installed, and we can watch their production. Right now, they've had 3 installers on the job, plus 2 handling a vac truck. They're going to be bringing in more installers as well. They're juggling jobs between Alameda and Hayward and Davis, and so.
We just pay them per meter, right? Or
We pay them
so
per meter,
we don't
so,
care.
this is, so we're getting great information, and, the group is very professional. This is what on a per meter installation, what they do, they have the swap, they show the old meter going out and the new meter coming in, and they take many pictures. This shows the old read, but they take pictures of
So
the.
60 days from now, we won't have people go, oh, you misread the meter. Okay.
So it's, so we're, and actually PMI, they have somebody in their office auditing the actual reads in the picture.
Yeah, okay, so lots of
comparing.
redundancy
There's
then.
lots of
just- okay,
redundancy,
yeah,
so
good.
this is good. And then the other piece, Kathleen has done an amazing job on outreach.
She really has.
We've had a couple mailers go out, we recently had a constant contact.
I cleared my shrubs the other day,
Yeah.
based on her email.
So that's great. We also put an ad in the review. We'll have ads around the first of the month in the review. So we're excited, and so far so good. So. And
Well, my experience being one of the early customers. No, it's cute. I see them rolling around the patch there in Ocean Colony, biking all the time, and I go and check them. One thing I noticed immediately was that their installers are very professional. I'll give them that. I mean, you can talk to the guy and he'll be very professional, very polite, even if you're, bothering him with what he's doing. But no, I really wasn't, but, no, I wasn't. He was waiting for something as it turned out. They are professional. They come in, they talk to you, they try and tell you what's going on. They're willing to answer your questions, et cetera. The communications has been good. There was a white letter that came, a postcard came about clearing your area, making sure there was a thing that went out in Ocean Colony to all people whose boxes were blocked, whose boxes had to be cleared. There was a whole list of all the people that went out and did a pre-survey of that to get that down. There must have been 100 people listed on there who had. Then they put blue flags where they were blocked, so people would know where to look to see where their meter was and, get to it, et cetera. They ran into an issue initially where they had 2 cover top sizes. They'd only provided one, and they had to run and get some bigger ones. There were 2 different covers. No, it's very interesting, and the things you run into at the last minute. And so they have their big vacuum cleaner come, a big vacuum truck. It's great. Big thing comes down the street, big orange thing, and they stick it in your meter hole and suck out all the crap, yeah. all
Yeah,
the
because
dirt.
mine are full to the top. The
Yeah.
gophers just fill them up.
Water and everything, they blast it out of there so that people can get in and finally get to the meter itself. And then the other thing that happened was that the couplings, the valve that goes from 1 inch to 3/4 inch are too long on the new meter somewhat, about 1/4 of an inch. So they have to do a little, how shall we say, heavy duty work to to get them to get in there. And they get them in, but it takes a little extra time. But that was the only thing that seemed to be in the way at this point. So I don't know how they can adjust, deal with that, but they did it, and then turned it back on, and you go in the house, and it sounds like your pipes are gonna fall apart, they start blasting and
Yeah, they're
burping
blasting,
and
yeah, blasting
hiccuping and all kinds of things. So it's what it said on the green hanger they give you. It says you may notice brown water, noise, this, that, and the other thing. So it sort of gives you a little bit of pre-warning of what's gonna happen. So all in all, my experience has been positive, and they're moving through okay.
So did you know what day they were going to be doing
No.
your meter?
No, they didn't have a date. That was the only thing that made it a little tricky. You couldn't necessarily be aware of that. They give you a card when they come and they knock on your door, but that's about it. So you lose your service for about 30 minutes.
Right, I was thinking of it more when if you're in the middle of a load of washing.
Yeah, right.
Or a shower.
Yeah, they check the meter to see if it's spinning.
Right.
And if it's spinning, they go on to another meter.
Oh.
And they,
Okay.
and then
So-
they'll go and they'll knock on your door and to see if you're using water or if you're home, and
Right.
then they go from there.
So it's an interesting process. What I did come away with is a big job. It's not an easy job necessarily. It can be pretty interesting, and that there's an awful lot of meters that they have to do. And so this is a sizable task, and in some fashion, it seemed to me that using contract approach was not a bad idea. I mean, at least from my perception.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
Of what it takes
Yeah.
to do it, how it's done, how many times you may have to deal with the same thing. It's much more efficient this way. And we have our guys standing by, should there be an issue, to come out and do whatever emergency kind of help they need to. They get out there pretty quick when something's wrong.
And I'll say their workflow tools are wonderful because they're, I think, we're gonna, there may be some mistakes, but,
Right.
I think, we're really gonna get high quality data and
Mhm.
being able to make sure that we can accurately bill our customers.
So I hope, hopefully it'll continue. I told them to do a good job because my customers know where I live. And I was hoping to not have to talk to them too often. So that was about it. No, they were very good. They were good guys. I enjoyed it. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Operations Manager, Mr. Durbin, Superintendent of Operations report.
Good evening, board members. I'm very happy to report that El Granada Tank 3 is complete.
Yay.
And we even got a new roof on the pump station, so that's probably the best news I have for you tonight. Denniston dredging has been completed. The Avenue del Oro PRV vault has been replaced. We still have to do some permanent paving around that. And we rebuilt the altitude valve at the Alves tank with the help of the clay valve rep, who comes with a truck with everything you could possibly need on it, and explained to us how the valve works and other suggestions in terms of how to repair the other one. So that was very good. With the winter coming, we got the Pilarcitos wells 3 and 4 started on the 1st of the month, and then started 3A just this past week. And we've got combined flows from these 3 wells of 225 gallons per minute. So saving some money there. If you have any questions, I'm available.
How many cubic yards were you able to dredge this time?
500.
500.
And is it still disposed of kind of up the road and on the side?
Yeah,
Same
the
kind of
spoil
program?
site,
Yeah,
and then we separate the muck from the good sand.
cool.
Yeah.
And I noticed, I guess it was part of an earlier report, but it looked like, when I was first involved in the water district, we had sort of a memorandum of understanding with SFPUC to try to utilize 49% local water. And it looked like in this water year, we're actually at 51%, which I thought was pretty amazing because of Denniston and the wells. I thought it was incredible to see the graph.
Yeah, great.
So
It's
Congratulations.
the fine work of the operations staff. I can't take credit for that. I just got here.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to just piggyback on that a little bit. Sean, and since Sean is here, Sean sent us all an email last week saying that last Friday, the Denniston plant was going to hit 500 million gallons of production since we opened it after the improvements. So that is really a testament to
Yes,
the
51%,
fine work of
more than, yeah.
of our treatment staff. So multiply 500 million by about 7,000.
That's a full year.
And that's a lot of savings from running that plant. That's like, what, $3.5 million worth of water we produced there. And that's with quite a bit of downtime. Today, I got an email from John Davis saying that the wells are at 328 gallons a minute, which is pushing 500,000 gallons a day. Denniston was at 550, so that's 878. The district's total demand last week was around 900. So we are very close to being totally on local water. And I guess we get a little bit of rain, and, yeah, I mean, it's amazing. We look forward to being able to shut off SFPUC at some point. Yeah, as we did for a while. We did it for, what, a week or two last year? Yeah.
Not use any of the,
So 51% is a longer-term number, but we are producing, right now, we're producing almost 100% of our needs from local sources. So it's amazing. Yeah. And so great job to the, kudos to the operations group.
That's awesome.
Good job keeping it running. Do you miss the old days when you had to call for a tool? Can you bring me a crescent? I need some vice grips.
So, question for Dave, he's been here for what, 6 weeks now approximately?
Yes.
Just about, right? You don't have to respond. Anything that you've come upon that's been a surprise, something that you didn't expect? Just anything that's different than maybe you had perceived?
No surprises. All water districts in California are struggling with the same issues of infrastructure that needs to be replaced, having enough staff and money and time to get it all done. So I think the pleasant surprise is how nice everyone is here.
Okay,
And
it's
how-
a good surprise.
Not that I expected anything else, but really nice professional staff, and they really like to help each other, and I've really enjoyed that aspect of this
Great.
work.
Mhm. Thank you. Thanks.
So I wanted to ask about this Denniston pump station booster pump motor that keeps failing.
Yeah.
Is there a point where
That's why I
they
put it
just
on the back
give us
page. I
one that
figured you wouldn't
works, or
read
do
it.
we have to keep working with the same failed one, or do they just?
It's one of those situations you get in before you accept a new project. I've had quite a few in my career where you get to the point where you have to allow the time for the installer, the manufacturer, and everyone to figure out what's really going on, even though you might know the answer. You've got to let them settle up without interfering in the process. Sean's been there I think every time they've tested it, and we are looking to Kennedy Jenks to really guide them through this process. We have our ideas what's going on, and we got to let them get themselves out of the situation they're in. We got one pump that works fine, the other one doesn't work. We think it's the motor, but we got to let the installers and manufacturers sort all that out. It's part of the painful process of closing a project. It doesn't go so smooth. So we're working on it, but we don't have the magic answer, and we haven't accepted the pump station yet.
Okay.
So there's motivation for them to fix it so they can get paid.
Right, so we haven't closed it and set the 10% yet, huh, the retention? Okay. Good.
Anything else for James? Okay, appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Jim.
Kathleen
Water
will
resources.
submit on her written comments tonight. She had another meeting that she went to.
Any comments on Kathleen's informational report?
I wondered if we could get our Bosco representative to get him to fill up Calaveras.
Nature, just waiting on nature.
So it's ready then?
Yeah, we're just waiting
Great.
for, and it could take years.
Yeah.
There is, I mean, it's just all at the mercy of nature.
Because it's really the only low part of the whole supply picture. The
Yeah,
supply
I
picture's
did
great.
specifically ask, because, actually, I spoke to Nicole today,
Nice.
in anticipation of Thursday's meeting.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so we're, it's very, very, I'm curious to find out Thursday, what the completion number is, percentage. I mean, it's got to be in the high 90s.
Yeah.
With
Yeah, yeah.
Great.
I look forward to a ribbon cutting hopefully soon.
Yeah, it's great.
You know
It's
what,
a great
so,
project.
and it was, what did they anticipate water rates going up 250% at the beginning of the WISP? Was that the projection? Was it 250 or 350? I forget what the projections were. I read something interesting, manufacturing processes take a lot of water. And clearly, we're not the only ones worrying about water. Big manufacturers are too. Colgate-Palmolive did a study on water, cost of water. And their estimate was the true cost of water is probably 2.5 times higher than what we're currently paying for it.
Mhm.
Because, we're got 50, 100-year-old infrastructure bringing water down from the various sources that were built, it's practically slave labor. The true cost today, 250% higher, and do the math on what it would cost to replace the 100 miles in this district, kind of makes sense. And I think that was the number that our rates have gone up since the beginning of the WISP. So when people complain about the rates, I mean, this is, I would imagine, a pretty independent study, that it's a relative bargain because we're having 50, 75, 100-year-old infrastructure deliver that water.
Mhm.
Today's value, would be considerably more. So that was an interesting number.
Any other comments?
I just wanted to comment on the video the article that you had sent on the Yamuna River. That was fascinating. I've been there. It's
Uh-huh.
filthy.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
awful. It's an awful, and yet it's a holy, parts of it are considered a holy river, and people are swimming in it, and
Yep.
it's really
Tough.
awful.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting.
So India's got some serious
Serious
challenges.
infrastructure issues,
Well,
to say the least.
For me, it was so incredibly contrastive to what we experience, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we complain about, water quality all the time, who's polluting it or
Mhm.
what animals are causing problems. And you look at what the water looks like at the end of that river before, and it's just, it's disgusting, it's
Yep.
amazing.
Well, but you think about how far we've come. Was it in the 60s that river in,
Caught fire?
well, yeah, the Cuyahoga River or something in Ohio or wherever it was, you throw a match in it and it lights up and from the pollution. So, developing nations take time to
Yeah.
get there.
Well, you just wonder how they'll be able to afford to do it and still have people have enough access to water. Because it's the reason that it is the way it is that's how people access their water.
Right.
Well, the
So we
last
get-
time I was in that area, which was last December, so almost a year ago, and one of the cities we were in, they were very excited because for the first time ever, they actually had garbage collection, a formal garbage collection system, but you had to pay for it, well, as we do, as everybody does, and so a lot of people wouldn't avail themselves of it, and they'd literally run after the truck and throw things in as it went by their house.
Wow.
They didn't, so, I mean, they've
When-
got some challenges.
When we were trekking in the Himalayas, and we were at some of the tributaries up in the Kumdu Glacier area of the Ganges River, the most amazing thing to me was you'd be hiking along a trail, and you come into a little village, and you look over the side, and all the garbage would be thrown in the river. And each time we would, get closer and closer to Kathmandu or, a little larger city, the pollution was so amazing. And we watched a Hindu funeral pyre site
Yeah, that's
where
really
they were
dope.
burning people and sweeping the ashes into the, and you just kind of pictured that going down, downstream. And so when I saw that article, I thought, oh my gosh, what a tragedy.
That's part of the challenge of that specific river is that there's a crematorium on it, and they are dumping, I don't know, volumes of ashes into the river.
Well, although the public is not aware of the article because they didn't see it. Just the discussion simply centers on an article that was in the Wall Street Journal, I believe,
Yes.
regarding the quality of water in the Yamuna River that runs through Delhi, if I'm not mistaken,
Right
which is in
behind Taj Mahal.
very, 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 very poor shape. And has not been attended to appropriately, and makes us very happy to think about how we have to deal with the quality of our water infrastructure and why we do it. And hopefully they, at some point, will have the same opportunity to get their water act together, although it won't be easy and will take a significant amount of time. So, just so people have a little better understanding. Okay, anything else? If not, then I will adjourn the meeting at 7:49.
Thank you.
PM permanent president, look how fast he's The guy's so fast.
Wait a minute.
Arnie, are you taking
What?
notes
That's
on
what you
this?
said to me.